to most of us.
Well, I grew up in small towns. I started off in the very first town. I don't remember because I was still really young when we left there and went to another town. And I started first grade there when I was 5. Didn't have kindergartens, and you started school when you were 5, so that's when I started first grade. And I went to first grade there, and then the Depression hit, and my dad got a job where we had to travel a lot. So I went to through the second grade, I went to about 6 different schools because every 2 or 3 weeks he would move and we'd move. And so that was my second grade. Then had one school all the way through third grade. Then I moved back to the little town where I grew up from there on. And it was an Amish Mennonite town. Just a little town where everybody knew everybody. But we all respected each other as far as religion and everything goes. Nobody had anything. There was no food involved in any of these get-togethers because nobody had anything. Oh, everybody had gardens because our whole yard, which would have been a mowed lawn and under other circumstances, was just a garden. The whole backyard was garden. And so it was a really good way to grow up. I learned a lot of frugality that way. Still am awful. Don't want to waste a cent.
Right.
And I don't know, I have absolutely no regrets about my growing up, even though it was really a hard time. And I know it was terrible for my parents because we really had to scrounge to get by at all. They did. And we learned, too, to just be careful, not waste a thing.
Right. Happy with what you have.
Oh, yeah. Goodness, yes. And Christmas time, you usually got some new
looking after
clothes
somebody else.
I mean, stockings or underwear usually. If you had something you shared, it wasn't a matter of gimme and mine. It was let's share.
Right.
And I think I realized that more as I get older. That's pretty much the way I grew up. It was a matter of something, and he'd get
Looking after other people.
toys. And he had an erector set and a film projector and microscope, but he was a great brother, and he shared everything with me. I know, I
Is he
didn't
older or younger?
older.
Older.
I never resented him because he was really, really good. And he didn't like what my grandmother did to me either.
Right.
But
and why do you think she was that way towards you?
Well, back then, boys were a lot more important than girls. And he came first.
There was no choice. I was going to college.
Everything she could ask for.
But
my folks,
and when I came along, I was kind
Dad was sick by that time, and then they didn't have much of an income. And so I had to earn my own. I got a scholarship for the first semester, and I think it was like $35 for
in '53.
What year was
everybody. Back then, when he got
41.
pregnant, I worked till 2 weeks before he was born, and then I quit. And stayed home and had 4 more after that.
4 sons and a daughter?
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
4 sons
Four-
and a daughter.
Yeah, 4 sons and a daughter.
Um,
And then when the last one was born, my husband got sick. And so when I went to the hospital to have him, my husband was in the VA hospital himself with TB, and he was there for 6 months. So I was at home then I had to go back to work. I didn't have a choice then because we had no income. And my mom gave up her job as librarian in our little town and came down to stay with me.
You learn a
She
lot of
looked after the
responsibility
children while
that
I
you
went
didn't
back to have before. You have a lot of ingenuity that you didn't have before because some of the time that the kids were growing up, we didn't have much money either. And Gail said one day, few years ago, she said, "Mom, I didn't know we were poor." But we were. And when she'd go to school and the other kids had fancy blue jeans and stuff, well, I'd buy some over at Wilco, and I'd embroider designs on the legs. Every night we all gathered around the table and had dinner together. I had a little whistle, and I'd go out and blow my whistle, and they all came. And I see kids growing up now, they don't come in and they don't eat together, they don't have a dinner together, and I think that's the most important thing you can possibly do is everybody sit down together and have a meal and talk and really enjoy each other. Childhood. We're a bunch of picky old women. Became more independent, less
Did other mothers or other women
less accepting of being
you know,
pushed around.
treat you differently at any times because you
Yes,
were
they
working?
did. Neighbors, they would make comments about, they supposed I've had more recipes for hamburger than anybody else because that's probably all we had to eat as far as meat went. And which wasn't true. But I mean, they would say catty little things like that, which really upset me, and I never said a word. I just let it go, but it never left my mind. I still think of it.
But today you wouldn't because you've
Oh,
got that
right.
backbone. You would say
Absolutely, I would have probably slapped him.
They said these things other people even know in your circumstances?
Yeah.
No. Wow.
But, sometimes people are really catty when you're
Like,
the underdog, they'll
your
step on you.
Yeah.
And your children now, like, do you think they've inherited anything from you?
Oh, I think so. They're all really great children. They must have gotten it from me. Excellent cook, and I don't know that she learned that from me, but she is a great cook. And Tommy is...
Does she make really good hamburgers?
Came in the other day to exercise class, and she said she hadn't been feeling well. And she said, don't you just hate it when you don't feel well and you don't want to do anything? I said, never would have. I don't want to do anything when I do feel well. Like on senior day, I'll go. I kind of size people up before I speak to them, but I speak to a lot of people in the store. Just say something. And one day I said to one man, I said, "Don't you just hate shopping in here on senior day with all these old people?"